Yo, hold up. What went down on NBA Today's emergency Lakers contract analysis is going to completely reshape how you think about Austin Reaves' market value. And I'm not exaggerating when I say the next 6 months could determine whether the Lakers make a franchise-defining financial decision or saddle themselves with an unmovable contract that destroys their championship window. We're talking about a borderline all-star entering his contract year who could command anywhere from $25 million to potentially $40 million per season, and when Malika Andrews and the panel started breaking down the salary cap implications, the LeBron-Luka Reaves fit dynamics, and what this means for LA's long-term roster construction, I literally had to pause, because this isn't just about one player's payday. This is about organizational philosophy, and whether the Lakers understand the brutal realities of the new CBA. So I'm watching NBA Today right as they're diving into their Lakers contract situation coverage, and suddenly Brian Windhorst drops this bombshell about Reaves potentially seeking $40 million per year. And you could see the entire panel's energy shift, because this isn't some theoretical negotiation exercise. This is a real scenario where Austin Reaves' camp might genuinely believe he's worth max-level money. And if the Lakers panic and overpay to keep him, they could find themselves in the PD2A exact same salary cap hell that's currently destroying teams like Phoenix and Milwaukee. Let me paint the complete picture of what really transpired during this absolutely fascinating segment, because the casual player wants big contract narrative that you're seeing on social media completely misses the psychological complexity, the roster mathematics, the championship probability calculations, and the harsh truth about what Austin Reaves actually is versus what his camp believes he could become. Stephen A. Smith was going absolutely nuclear about the new CBA restriction, and when Stephen A. dedicates an entire segment to salary cap philosophy rather than just player performance, you know we're in uncharted waters where front offices can no longer afford to make mistakes. Here's the foundational context that Kendrick Perkins established right at the opening, and this is crucial for understanding why $40 million would be organizational malpractice. Austin Reaves is a very good basketball player. Let's start there and be completely honest. He's not a bum who should be traded for a bag of Doritos like some casual fans suggest. He's also not the greatest player ever who deserves unconditional max money like his most delusional stans believe. The truth lives somewhere in the nuanced middle, and that's where smart organizations make smart decisions rather than emotional ones driven by fear of losing a popular player. The statistical profile that Bobby Marks pulled up during the segment was revealing in its complexity. Without LeBron James on the court, Reaves averages 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. Those are legitimate all-star numbers on paper, and if you just looked at that stat line in isolation, you'd think, yeah, this guy deserves $35–40 million easily. But here's where the analysis gets sophisticated, and where casual fans miss the entire point. There's a massive difference between putting up big numbers in spot duty when stars are resting and being the guy that defenses specifically game plan against for 82 games. Richard Jefferson made this brilliant point about sample size sustainability that really crystallized the issue. Lots of players in the NBA can have explosive performances on random nights when given opportunity, and when defenses aren't prioritizing stopping them. Reaves has done it pretty consistently when guys are out, which is genuinely impressive. But doing it 10–15 games per year is fundamentally different from doing it 82 games as the primary offensive option that every opposing team is studying film on and building defensive schemes around. That's not speculation. That's the harsh reality of NBA basketball that separates good players from genuine franchise centerpieces. The contract valuation discussion became heated during the segment, and you could see the panel split along predictable lines based on their evaluation philosophies. Max Kellerman was arguing that based on comparable contracts around the league, and considering the new CBA restrictions, Reaves is legitimately a $25–30 million player. The Lakers would probably pay him that without much hesitation. If he somehow got $30 million, most people would be okay with it, even if it's slightly above his true value. But when you start talking about $35 million, that's where alarm bells should be ringing. And $40 million? That's franchise-crippling insanity that gets general managers fired 3 years later when the team is stuck in mediocrity. But here's where the reporting got really interesting, and this is what had Stephen A. absolutely fired up about organizational messaging and player expectations. Reaves gave an interview where he talked about declining his $14.8 million player option, and his quotes revealed so much about his mindset. He said, "Still to this day, I sit there and think about, relative to any life, that is a lot of money. A lot of money. The Lakers offered way more money than I would have ever had. If you told me when I was in 10th grade, it's way more money than I thought was ever possible." That's the kind of quote that should make Lakers fans feel optimistic, right? He's expressing gratitude, acknowledging that any amount of money he gets is life-changing, showing humility about his journey. But then he continued, "We didn't think that the number was the right number. And that's not saying that we're going to be searching for a number that's out of this world. I want to be in LA. I want to continue to play Virginia Country Club on the off days. It's not like we're trying to just whack them over the head for more money than what I deserve. We just want to get what we feel I've put the work in to get." So, what is that number? That's the question that had the entire NBA Today panel debating, because the ambiguity is intentional. If Reaves is thinking, "I could get $50 million on the open market, but I'll be reasonable and only ask for $40 million from the Lakers," then someone needs to have a serious reality check conversation with his representation. If a team is foolish enough to offer him $40 million and he actually becomes a 28-6 guy who elevates into a legitimate top 15 player in basketball, then congratulations to Austin Reaves and whatever team takes that risk. But the Lakers, who are paying Luka Doncic and still need to fill out an entire championship-caliber roster, absolutely cannot and should not pay him that money. The LeBron-Luka Reaves fit discussion became fascinating because it exposed some uncomfortable truths about roster construction and positional redundancy. Perkins was making this point about how, with Luka dominating the ball and LeBron still commanding significant usage, where exactly does Austin Reaves fit as a $40 million player? You're essentially paying max money for a guy who's going to be your third option at best during the regular season, and whose playoff performance has been significantly worse than his regular season production. That playoff performance gap became a major theme throughout the segment, and honestly, this is where the harsh truth about Reaves's value becomes impossible to ignore. During the regular season, he's great, legitimately a $35 million caliber player based on availability, production, and impact. But then the playoffs arrive, and the intensity ratchets up and defenses tighten, and physicality increases, and suddenly Reaves looks like a $10 million player. That's not hyperbole for effect. That's what the film shows, and what the advanced metrics confirm. The panel was wrestling with whether this playoff decline is an inherent limitation of Reaves's game, or whether it's a fixable problem that better surrounding talent could solve. Max was arguing that maybe with Luka taking primary defensive attention and DeAndre Ayton providing rim protection and spacing, Reaves could return to his regular season form even in playoff setting. But Stephen A. was pushing back hard with multiple examples of players who looked great in regular season and then consistently disappeared when the stakes got higher. The DeAndre Ayton subplot became another fascinating layer. And this is where you see the Lakers' strategic thinking about roster construction in the post-LeBron era. There's legitimate speculation that Ayton could naturally evolve into the third option this season simply because of how the offensive hierarchy shakes out. Luka will have the ball in his hands constantly. The Luka-Ayton pick-and-roll could legitimately be the best play in basketball. Ayton has always thrived with elite point guards who can feed him in his spots. So even with Reaves, theoretically being the second highest paid player, Ayton might actually be the more important offensive contributor. And here's the long-term thinking that really mattered. In a post-LeBron era, Maybe Ayton becomes your legitimate second option, while Reaves settles into being a high-level third option. If you can get Ayton on a 4-year, $80 million deal, which is starting center money in the $18 to $20 million range, that could escalate to $25 to $30 million if he returns to Phoenix form, and you pair that with Reaves on a 4-year, $140 million deal, the math kind of works. But if you're giving Reaves 4 years at $160 million, where he's making $40+ million annually, you've just destroyed your salary cap flexibility and locked yourself into a contract you literally cannot escape. Here's what really emerged from the entire NBA Today coverage that I think Lakers fans desperately need to internalize. Austin Reaves is worth keeping at the right price, but $40 million is organizational suicide in the new CBA era. He's probably a $35 million player in reality, and the Lakers should draw their line somewhere between $30 to $35 million maximum. Anything beyond that, you let him walk or facilitate a sign and trade and use that money to build deeper roster construction around Luka and whatever other stars you can attract. This is the uncomfortable truth that defines championship versus mediocrity.